Act 1 of At the Sign of the Greedy Pig, A Frightful Comedy of Beggars, by Charles S. Brooks. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Dramatis Personae.
Twist,
A beggar.
read by Larry Wilson.
Wimp,
A beggar.
read by Nemo.
Blat,
A beggar.
read by Thomas Peter.
Squeak. A beggar. Read by Sandra Schmidt.
Balladmonger, read by Todd.
Mistress Trencher, read by Devora Allen.
Syndic of the University, read by Phil Schampf.
Surgeon, read by Roger Moline.
Student, read by Eva Davis.
Dr. Bombastes, read by T.J. Burns.
Jules, read by Tavarish.
A Watchman, read by Alan Mapstone.
Applewoman, read by Liane Yao.
Yank, the Hangman, read by Alan Mapstone.
Bellringer, read by Jim Locke.
A Girl, read by Abayi.
An Old Woman, read by April.
Another Old Woman, read by Fawn.
A Third Old Woman, read by Angelique Campbell.
An Old Man, read by Trisha G.
A Voice in the Crowd, read by Abayi.
Stage directions, read by Sonia. At the Sign of the Greedy Pig, A Frightful Comedy of Beggars. Act 1. Sometimes, in a mood of Spanish castles, there flits across my fancy the vision of an ancient city on a hilltop, with lofty battlements thrust upward from the rock, and towers that stand on tiptoe. One might think that a second flood had been foretold, and that the houses, like Noah's nimble sinners, had scampered up to drier ground. Or perhaps, against the hazard of rougher days when war was constant, our city pitched itself aloft in cowardice, and its buildings ran up the slope for safety with a bludgeon at their heels. But on the peaceful night when the action of our play begins, neither flood nor battle threatens at the gate. The city's towers rise dreaming to the stars. Its cobbled pavements rest from the traffic of the day, and if any echo starts, it is the watchman on his round, for even the padded foot of evil seems to sleep. May we not suppose, for so does fancy turn the figure of our thoughts, that these buildings on the hill have paid their penny and scrambled to the gallery, where they stand jostling in the crowded aisle to view the frightful comedy which we shall play below. Our stage is the square of this ancient city, seen dimly in the night. At the right is the western facing of a Gothic church. At the left is a tavern, whose swinging sign above the door is a pig with greedy feet inside the trough. On the front wall of the tavern, set obliquely to the square, is a wide window with mullions and leaded glass. It is the window of the tap. At the rear of the square, to the right, a stone wall juts from the church at the height of one's shoulder. It is of sufficient length for 3 persons of moderate beam to squat along the top. At the rear also, to the left, a gibbet, like a patient angler, dangles its noose for rascals. Our villain must play the wary trout, or be hooked before our eyes. But we throw this description of our city to the winds. It is better to build with crazy pencil a town of wobbling, distorted walls. The time of our play is remote, and I choose to think the world is flat, that comets are of evil prophecy, and witches still ride on the windy moon. Sometimes I think that our plot is laid in southern France, and I hear in the twilight of my thoughts the singers of Provence strumming their golden verses. Sometimes I put our scene in the northern plain of Italy, and now and again, upon a whim, I hurl it beyond the English Channel to such a town as Oxford was 1,000 years ago. The magic chapel of Loretto, on the bidding of the church, does not leap so nimbly across the Alps. It is the end of night, But as yet the house fronts are not streaked with dawn. The church is dark, but a light shines from the tavern window. The devil, it appears, keeps the longer hours. The tavern window, with curtain drawn, is a shadow picture of two men drinking. Their brawling keg is as shallow as a stream in August. The square is deserted. Presently, after a final rattling of cups and tipsy gesture, the window becomes dark. The door opens and two figures emerge. They cross the square homeward with a drag of tottering dignity. The tapster puts out the lantern at the door of the Greedy Pig and sets the jangling chain. Good liquor, it seems, even in honest ancient times, had need of a stout defence. His candle mounts to a bedroom window. Thirst may now knock in vain its knuckles out of joint. The tavern's front is dark. A watchman comes tapping with his stick.
4 o'clock of an April night. God's mercy, all's well.
It is a drawling voice like the chanting of a choir, and ends in uncertain minor. He holds up the lantern now and again to see that windows and doors are fast. He hums softly to himself, as a contented workman should.
It's 4 o'clock of an April night. Yo-ho, for the devil in hell, and all good folk are sleeping tight in the guard of the church tower bell.
He mutters to himself.
Yo-ho for the devil, say I. The old rascal likes music. I sing to keep him contented so he won't snatch at me. Bolt shot, chain fast. Here's a window up, just asking thieves to climb in. Some folks are so careless, I wonder they button themselves.
He goes off about his business up the street. The dawn comes now with blinking step from its sleepy bed. There are streaks of light on the housetops. The stars that we have set upon the heavens fade from sight. Even the comet disappears, which has burned with evil fire above the gibbet. The watchman's cry is heard faintly in the distance. The square is in misty twilight. The bell ringer enters, a fellow bent to the likeness of a hoop. His keys rattle at his belt. He selects a mighty key, worthy of its office. Windsor's Keep or Louis's fearful dungeons would yield to such a mass of metal. He unlocks the door of the church and goes inside. The morning at last in its tub of dew shakes off the night. A cripple now shuffles up the street, dragging a broken foot. His name is Twist. A leg is bent and worthless, and an arm is withered. On the fashioning of his body, the bale of commodities, it seems, had fallen to the sortings. Dame Nature shopped, as it were, unwisely at the bargain counter, and filled her basket with blemished wares. His leg looks like a poor man's Christmas stocking. Yet he is, as we shall see, a sly fellow, and nimble in his wits. He is the hero of our play, unless the ballad-monger demands the title. A likeable little fellow, and the very pith and substance of his nature is his sociability. On this and his empty stomach our slim plot hangs. We must make this clear in our dialogue. Twist squats on the steps of the church and disposes his deformity to the best business advantage, for by profession he is a beggar. He looks in his cup and shakes it sadly. Times with him are stagnant, as we larger merchants say. He wags his head despondently and rubs his empty stomach. A group of peasants cross the stage at the rear, bearing fruits and vegetables for the morning market. There is a basket of yellow carrots and something with a wisp of whiskers that may be onions. It is now broad day. A bell far off across the city strikes the hour. 5. Another bell, by a lagging second, gives its different version of the time. But the bell of our own church settles the dispute. Upon our trusted steeple, it is evident, the great round sun itself cocks its fiery ear for a certain reckoning to start the day. 3 beggars enter. The first is Wimp, who professes to be blind. He wears black glasses or a patch. His whining voice, through years of practice, melts the hardest heart. He throws his exposed eye up to heaven, as if he besought the angels to toss him down a penny. The second beggar is Blat, and he would have you think him deaf. He carries a trumpet which on occasion he gives to his ear. The third beggar is Squeak, and perhaps he is dumb, for he makes a show of talking with his hands. Such sounds as he emits are shrill and rasping, as if his gears were short of oil. The blind man comes tapping with his stick. Each beggar carries a wallet and a cup. Their ragged clothes cry out for patch and needle. Presently Squeak, the dumb beggar, discovers Twist, the cripple, sitting on the steps of the church. He pulls the deaf beggar by the sleeve and points with excited, uplifted finger. The beggars halt in angry consultation. Wimp, as he squints beneath his patch.
Methinks I see Twist, the foul laser, sitting on our steps.
It was but yesterweek we clouted him for sitting there.
There's not room for 4.
He squealed like a pig when I beat him off. With your stick again I'll thrust him in the eye, else he'll be getting coppers that should come to us.
Even a hard heart turns generous at the blessed hour of Mass.
Master Baggs, who owns the brewhouse on the hill, sometimes drops in a bit of silver.
It's when he's lifted the price of beer a penny to the quart.
We'd have thin bellies if we did not beg upon the church steps.
But Master Twist must sit in the gutter.
His shriveled arm outrivals us.
Take my stick, Master Blat. Clout the dirty rogue. Make him roar for mercy.
All 3 beggars advance on Twist, who pulls in his legs and looks up piteously.
For the love of God, good friends, have pity on me.
You foul speck, you blot, you filthy patch, make off, I say.
I can sit thin. Good sir, so few pennies are thrown to the gutter. For lack of food I'm shrunk to a wizened Applejohn. I'm lonely when I sit alone. Dear friends, let me sit with you, for lonesomeness is more grievous than a jumping tooth. We'll whine all day together, and be as merry as chirping birds. Paradise is but a place where good friends sit and talk.
Be off.
Good Master Blat, have pity, have mercy, Master Squeak. I'll beg in a little voice. I'll not show my twisted leg.
But the beggars maul him and drive him off. They deposit themselves in a row on the church steps. In all of our city this is the site where wretchedness can expose its lean and aching wares to best advantage. Here is the fairest profit on scab and fracture. In its cheaper way it is Bond Street and the boulevards rolled together. Twist drags his broken foot to the gutter beneath the gibbet and sits alone, disconsolate. Wimp, by way of practice, just as we golfers swing our clubs at grass blades on an empty tee.
Have mercy, kind people, as you hope for mercy. Has the dirty Twist been beaten off?
I fouled him with your stick. Mercy, have mercy, good folk.
Did you cuff him to the gutter? Did you twist his ugly nose? Be gentle, sweet folk, to those who labor in misfortune.
His cup will not clink with copper, for no one will pass him on the way to Mass. Dear folk, be generous.
Succor the blind.
Pity the poor, pity the poor.
As it still lacks a few minutes of the hour of Mass, the 3 beggars draw food from their wallets. Like our own dear washlady, they get breakfast on the job. They exchange delicacies, a bit of cheese against an apple, a piece of citron for a hunk of pudding. The cripple's mouth waters. Not even Tiny Tim watched the Christmas goose so eagerly. Once he offers to join the banqueters, but Blet raises his cane. In his wallet Twist finds a withered applejawn, the very symbol of poverty. An apple woman enters with a tray of fruit. Twist looks hard for a penny and turns his pockets inside out. Shaking dislodges nothing. Just once his fingers run on something hard. Hope rises, but it proves to be a button. The three beggars buy apples. They eat with relish. Twist watches their feast, like rags at a castle window. The apple woman calls her wares down the adjoining street.
Apples! Apples! Who'll buy? Who'll buy? Sheep's noses and pippins, who'll buy?
The bell ringer throws open impressively the great doors of the church. He pulls at the bell rope within the entry. The bell rings.
It's the blessed hour of Mass.
We must lay by our breakfast.
I'll put this half-bit pippin in my blouse.
And on I'll munch my sitchin.
We must look wizened.
And hungry.
Each of them unbuttons to ease his bulging breakfast. They stretch with comfort. Their yawn is contagious across the candles of our stage. Then they turn their thoughts to business. The cripple in the gutter twists himself to hideous deformity. The sideshow at the circus, even the freak museum, would hang its head for shame. The two-headed lad from Borneo does not enter on his part with greater zest. And now the village folk cross the square on the way to Mass. Some of them linger for gossip, to exchange a recipe for pudding, or to complain by gesture of their rheumatism. The cups of the beggars on the steps rattle prosperously with copper. Twist shakes his cup in vain. Neither arm nor twisted leg avails, for he is around the corner from the fashion.
Look at my withered arm, good folk.
I starve, good people.
Pity the poor, pity the poor.
My twisted leg.
I'm stone blind since the cradle.
Pity the poor, pity the poor.
The dumb man, of course, talks furiously with his hands, pointing out his defects and squeaking in his attempt to speak. A ballad monger has come singing up the street. He enters the square to catch a bit of business. He is a gay fellow with torn clothing sorted from the sunset.
Blithe tunes for spring, a sad tune's best for winter. The fields are gay with flowers, and a song should match. Daffodils and jonquils, come by my verses to pipe the yellow blossoms to the dance when the wind shall set the tune. Lilts and lullabies, jigs and songs for wooing. April's here, it's mating time. What you will, what you will.
Succor the blind.
Here's a catch to sing as the smoking jug goes round. It compounds the interest of good fellowship. It's a pinch of spice to sweeten the cup of life.
Pity the poor, pity the poor.
You, sir, have a dancing eye. Will you buy a jig? Set to lute or fiddle, here's a tune will stir the legs. It's as merry as a kitten's scampering feet. Sol, fa, mi, sol. A grandame will leap prancing from the settle. She will throw by her sullen knitting and demand a partner. No foot, however dead with age or gout, will keep its peace. It's true, upon my reputation.
My withered arm, my twisted leg.
Here are lullabies, soft tunes for sending the dearies off to sleep. Here is one that is sung in the royal household by the Queen's command. The heir apparent lays his pretty curls upon a pillow. Poof! He dreams. For a tuppenny, 2 contemptible pennies only, I give you the song by which Circe put the sailormen to sleep. Tough fellows, all of them. Can a child, think you, resist its magic? Who'll buy? Who'll buy?
Pity the poor, pity the poor.
My dear, how runs your choice?
Please you, sir, a tune of love, if it ends happy and is not above a penny.
It would be tuppenny to another, but though I starve upon the loss, it's yours for a penny. You have pretty blue eyes, my dear, and doubtless many lovers. Alas! 'tis a pity so many hearts must break. Beauty is a shoal of hidden rock. You, sir, do you lack a serenade to win your mistress? Though your voice be a ragged bass, and your lute untuned, here's a song to mend your wooing. Its melody will melt the coldest wench by moonlight. It is the very tune that whistled Helen off to Troy. With these words Romeo lured Juliet to his arms.
Pity the poor, pity the poor.
Have you never heard how King Henry laid siege to Rosamund in her bower? In this very palm, I tell you what's a secret, he put 3 coppers for my song. If I be a liar, let me hang upon a gibbet. Though a lover be as humped as Richard, as crooked as foul Therses, this serenade will pluck him down a wife. It's worth 100 shafts from Cupid's quiver. Who'll buy a song of love? Who'll buy a jig? It's a brisk sweet mornin' for a jig.
Mistress Trencher passes, owner of the greedy pig. 2 of the persons of our plot profess their love for her. Half the bachelors of our ancient city worship her in hungry silence. Each moon throughout the year she listens to the verses hurled against her casement. She is a pretty lass with roguish eye. Let this suffice for description. I cannot throw an ink-pot at so fair a creature. The stage has emptied.
Mistress Trencher, you laugh at my lies and jests. You know with what poor success I sing to you. My verses are galleons that I launch for prosperous voyage. But your heart, dear lady, is a coast uncharted where they strike and sink.
It's a silly mariner who lays his course without an eye upon the stars.
Sweet lady, my compass is set by Venus.
An idle wandering planet that snares unwary maidens when blood runs warm in spring.
Had I the voice of angels, I would fill your night with melody. Not Petrarch's song to Laura sounds with as pure a note as mine, nor Dante to his Beatrice, Tristan to Isolda. The jasmine at your window bows its head to catch the ardor of my verse.
I must needs then close my shutter for a wink of sleep.
My song rattles at your casement, as if the wind came wooing with love in idleness from the southern hills. Such a wind, my dear, carried the love of Troilus to the Grecian tents where Cressid lay. It bore the song of Lancelot to Elaine. Once, 1,000 years ago, the white-armed Francesca listened at her window, when Paulo spoke his passion in the breathless night. Troilus sleeps in the muffled earth. Paulo's eager suit is cold, but love is still the freightage of the wind. Sweet mistress, I beg that you leave your casement open, so that my song may steal from your sleeping lips a kiss. My verse, like Tom O'Coventry, comes peeping at the shutter to steal your beauty. With a plain word I woo you. I love you, Mistress Trencher.
I have many offers. I cherish your love, Master Ballad-monger, as I cherish the love of my other wooers. Yet...
Yet?
The syndic, although he lacks the honey of your tongue, is the taller man.
I call the stars to witness.
To your silliness.
That I love you, Mistress Trencher.
Good day. I go to mass.
She waves him a coquettish hand and drops her handkerchief. She enters the church. The ballad-monger kisses the handkerchief. He goes off singing.
A lady once sat in a castle high, Yo-ho for the sun and the light, and she pined all day for her lover's sigh, and she pined till the fall of night. But that lady who sat in her castle hall, Yo-ho for the moon in the sky, eloped by night with her lover tall, eloped when the moon was high.
It is a catching melody. The deaf man forgets his defective ear and sways lightly to its rhythm. The dumb man, mended for a moment, hums softly so as scarcely to be heard. The blind man squints from under his patch at 2 village girls of tempting ankle who exaggerate the depth of puddles. These things persuade us that the beggar's melodies are false. In the meantime a surgeon and a student have entered the square. At the surgeon's belt hang sharp and shining instruments. What leg, what liver is safe from their sudden thrust? The student's nose is buried in a massive book. Neither of them notices how the beggars have betrayed themselves. The ballad-monger's song fades in the distance.
At last this long-sought day has come, master student.
I have read so diligently in the wisdom of this book that today the university of our ancient city confers a degree on me.
Of what nature is your book? How its wisdom bursts its massive hoops!
It is a tome on humility. It makes me swell with pride that I have read it through. How like you the cramoisie of my cloak-master surgeon? There's a good 6 ell of it. Most painful, dear. I lay off meat for a month to buy this feather.
Fie on you, master student! No one will cast an eye on you or me when the great Dr. Bombastes is by.
Who is this Dr. Bombastes?
Surely your ignorance is jest. Our university bestows on him today its highest honor.
Say you so?
His fame has blown to the corners of the earth. He has degrees from Verona and Paris and from foggy Oxford.
Bless my soul.
He has but newly alighted from Padua, where the university did him distinguished honor. He is learned, so it said, in astrology, in medicine, in surgery, in theology, in divination, and in lofty mathematic.
Sancta dies!
In medicine he can speak words as long as your leg, and without a book to mend his memory. He can wag a finger on the sniffling of the nose, and pronounce the malady in 7 syllables. He can call a stomach ache in Latin.
Ah, sainted mother!
With his great saw and mighty forceps, for so our faculty believes, blindfold he could carve you like a fowl on a Christmas platter.
Holy Bridget!
With this great doctor by, who, think you, will be gazing at your gramoisy cloak?
I regret the money I laid out on my feather. In my heart I wish this doctor had stayed at home. He will blunt the point of my renown.
There are others who think with you. The surgeons of our ancient city, myself for one, do much regret his coming. It's but last week that Mistress Baggs, who fees in gold, did put me off when I ventured to prescribe a draught. She would and she would not. She would wait for the coming of Dr. Bombastes. Even today the widow Clink, with a tidy fortune that she scatters at her fingertips, sent me word that my pills were too bitter for her taste, that Dr. Bombastes would know a sweeter compound. One can do no more than brew a posset and tie a kerchief on the head. If a patient does not mend with that, let God have mercy on his soul.
Alas, I wish this Dr. Bombastes had stayed at home.
I've lived in this ancient city for 30 years, and I've purged the folk of their complaints. I've worn myself to the bone.
He pats his ample stomach.
Yet the university has never honored me.
But let a stranger come to town.
With a great saw.
And a distant reputation.
And the university stretches itself to do him honor. Did I not compound the syllabub that laid the general colic? With this great saw I removed Master Bloat's inflamed liver.
Alas, he died.
But it was a pretty piece of cutting.
And most successful, except that you gouged his stomach.
A trivial slip.
Is there no way we can trip this Dr. Bombastes?
Before the syndic of our university awards the degree and medal, the doctor will be asked to display his wisdom.
In surgery, thank you.
On that we must insist. He must cure someone of an old distemper.
And if he fails?
It's there I build my hope. It was myself who whispered the suggestion to the syndic.
He lowers his crafty voice to the student's ear. If I be not mistaken, this surgeon will prove to be a villain.
What say you to the leper in the quarry?
Jesuit, 'tis excellent. Nothing but a miracle could cleanse the leper. But Dr. Bombastes, after a week of travel, may plead fatigue.
I have stiffened the syndic against denial. He stands shortly for election as mayor. I have persuaded him that Bombastes' display will win him many votes.
But what if he really cleansed the leper?
Then our way is clear. It is written in the law that nature sanctions leprosy. He who overthrows nature is an abomination and a witch shall hang.
Our coin has had both sides.
These several nights there has been a comet in the sky. Witches have been seen riding on the windy moon. They give substance to our accusation.
Is not this the syndic who comes this way?
He woos Mistress Trencher of the Greedy Pig, to whom the ballad-monger nightly sings his songs of love. Croesus bids a golden bag against Apollo's voice.
The syndic of the university now enters. He is dressed to fit his honourable office. His feather alone is worth 3 months of meat. He is hung with glistening chains. On our steep-pitched hill his is the highest house.
It is an honour to greet the first citizen of our ancient city.
Pish, pish.
This is said with a gesture of denial, for he would have you think that humility lodges on Olympus.
May this April morning smile on you.
When is Dr. Bombastes to receive his degree? I rejoice, I sing, I laugh, that a brother surgeon should be honoured.
At the end of the general pronouncement, I myself will fasten the gold medal on his front, here on the church steps, so that all the people of our city may be present.
The rabble loves excitement and a throng. It matters not whether it be a wedding or a hanging. Out of their gratitude their votes are yours.
Ah, how dearly I love the working man. Bread, when I am mayor, will be but a penny to the loaf, and against discontent I'll double the baker's wages.
And 2 and 2 will forget themselves and add up to 1. If you kissed a few babies here and there today, it would win many hesitating votes.
Let a line of babies be washed and ready.
And a comely mother now and then.
Ah, a comely mother now and then. This day outtops all other days. Bombastes is of tremendous intellect.
We have just been marvelling at his brain.
That matter we spoke of yesterday. Our learned faculty sat last night in debate until the socketing of the second candle. At the end, a few of our older members were already nodding in their beards. It was agreed that Dr. Bombastes must work a miracle in order that our neighbour, Padua, turn green with jealousy.
Will not Dr. Bombastes plead fatigue?
The thought does you discredit. So great a man can toss off a miracle as you or I would toss a cup of sack.
What say you to the cobbler's witless daughter?
Rather, let it be the leper in the quarry. Padua will turn to envious jade.
Excellent. It delights me that a brother surgeon feels no jealousy. Let it be the leper. Time presses. I am on my way to Master Baggs, who owns the brewhouse on the hill. When the leper has been cleansed, we'll celebrate with dancing in the streets. Master Baggs has promised a hogshead of beer, that everyone may drink without payment of a penny. Free beer is the sweetest on the tongue.
A line of babies?
And a comely mother now and then. I wish you prosperity, gentlemen. Good day.
Student to surgeon.
Ah, mischief grows.
There's much remains for scheming. We'll go into mass and whisper these things together.
The surgeon and student go into the church, scheming behind their palms. Mistress Trencher enters the square.
It's truly said that the people love a pageant. If Bombastes cleanse the leper, they will make me mayor. Good morning, Mistress Trencher.
And you, good sir.
Look on me. What do you see?
One who pesters me with love.
Sweet Mistress Trencher, I build me a great house on the hill. For whom think you I build?
Yesterweek you offered to make me Lady Syndic. 'Twas Sunday you wished to heap your wealth on me, and now to-day you build a house for gift.
Next month I shall offer to make you Lady Mayoress.
Then I shall hold my answer till next month comes. Perhaps you will raise your bid to a princess before snow flies.
My voice is strong in affairs of state.
The ballad-monger has the better tenor.
My coffers are stored with gold.
Do I wed King Midas?
My table groans with luscious food.
Or shall I choose Silenus?
My cellars are stocked with vintage wine.
Bacchus?
You mock me, lady. Plainly I love you.
Plainly? It's an ugly word for a lady's ear.
For a year I have laid siege to the cold castle of your love.
My heart is strong as Chateau Gaillard. My garrison is sure. Peace, good syndic. I hear the great doctor stirring in the inn.
My wealth, my wine, my house, my title, I cast them at your feet.
Your wealth, your wine, your house, your title? I bid them all good day.
She blows him a coquettish kiss. Does it match the kerchief to the ballad-monger? And leaves the square. And now the tapster, the broom-boy, the cook, the waitress, all the servants, twice as many as we ourselves afford, come piling from the inn. They stand in line with tavern-itch. The great surgeon enters from the tap. He is clad gloriously in his doctor's robes. He is quite the grandest person of our play. If it can be contrived by pointed heels, he should stand 4 inches taller than the tallest man of our ancient city. Jules, his apprentice, follows him, bearing the tools of his craft, the great golden saw, the mighty forceps, and other fearful instruments. One aches inside to think of their horrid use. What timid liver in such a presence will perform its function? What stomach henceforth rests easy after dinner? The apprentice sharpens the saw with flourish and rhythm. The beggars rattle their cups.
Sweet charity, great sir.
My withered arm.
Pity the poor, pity the poor.
Succor the blind.
My twisted leg.
Pity the poor, pity the poor.
There is an agreeable confusion. The great doctor stands in the midst of it. Proud Zeus has come among the swineherds. The syndic cringes with hospitality. The mighty doctor unbends an inch. He extends a finger for a kiss. He throws back his garments and displays his medals. He points to each.
Verona, Paris, Oxford, Copenhagen. Jules, Jules. This 5th medal.
Padua, sire.
Ah, Padua. I thank thee, apprentice. And in which department of my wisdom?
Metaphysic, sire.
Ah, yes, metaphysic.
He taps another medal questioningly.
Bologna, sire.
Ah, yes, Bologna. And in which division of my profundity?
Anatomy, sire.
Ah, anatomy it is. And for what depth of my intellect did Salamanca honor me?
Astrology, sire. You did compute the adverse equation of the dog star that runs barking at the southern chariot.
Oh, yes, I had forgotten. A trifle, mere scum upon the surface of my wisdom. Jules, Jules, you have left Madrid off my smock.
Not so, sire. I put it beneath your chin.
Ah, yes, so it is.
Please you, learned doctor, you are required before the degree is given to ensample your wisdom on the square here in the presence of the dear people, for I love the meanest of them.
It is not my custom, honorable syndic, to waste my wisdom on a dirty crowd. My nostrils are sensitive. Jules, my perfume.
It is applied.
The other nostril? Ah.
Please you, learned doctor.
Am I a dancing bear? to caper before the sweaty rubble.
Our faculty.
Am I a penny juggler on a rope?
My dear doctor, you are the twin of Faustus.
Ah.
Our faculty desires that our university outrival green-eyed Padua. We are honored that the mighty Dr. Bombastes, whose fame has buffeted the seven seas, has come among us.
Ah, yes, the seven seas. Mare clausum, like the Caspian. Mare circumambiens. The salt of the ocean, 'tis my own discovery, is distilled from the tears of lovesick mermaids.
Your renown has climbed, as it were, the Libyan mountains above the scope and compass of common men.
Libyan mountains. It is very good.
Your name has twinkled like Orion for our staring admiration.
Ah, Orion. It is excellent. Jules, note Orion in your tablets. It's a dainty trope I'll use anon.
The proud doctor thaws in this glowing praise. He warms and drips like any icicle.
My dear Syndic, I shall break my custom. Yet tell not my consent to the Turkish Sultan, for I denied him flat. What say you if I name the 7,000 stars? It is a pretty piece of memory.
Jesu, it is most generous.
The Caliph of Baghdad and his 100 wives begged on their knees in vain. A pretty family, assorted light and dark, plump and thin to hit his changing whim. The Caliph is quite domestic. I do remember a little blonde, a roguish creature.
Please you, sir, our faculty.
I consent to name the 30 mortal diseases.
He pauses and wonders for a moment.
Such eyes, a dimple in the chin, her cheeks like apple blossoms. My dear Caliph, I said, yonder wife upon the scarlet divan, number 7 from the end, does much engage my eye.
Our faculty.
Pish! Perhaps it will gratify you if I name the catalogue of the blessed saints and the miracles that attach to each. It will take but the afternoon, now that the days are long.
Our faculty bids me say.
Ah, the very thing. For this the French king kissed me like a brother. I shall discourse on the 15 ways to know a witch. The marks upon the body, the tests by water, and the gibbet.
Our faculty.
The holy bell, lightning that scours the infected night.
God deliver us.
If the symptoms pass from the witch on the evening of the 7th day, the witchcraft may be considered cured.
Our faculty bids me.
But if on that 7th day the bells of the evening mass do not scatter the visible marks of witchcraft, then it is proved that the iniquity has entered in, and the witch shall hang.
Sainted Bridget!
What says the book? Quibus spiritus maligni, demones maleficiaque, omnia de corporibus humanis abscessis, tanquam flagellis fustibusque fugantur expelluntur.
A leper dwells close by in a quarry. You must cleanse him in our sight.
The doctor and Jules exchange suspicious glances. The requirement is not to their liking.
Dr. Bombastus has in his great chest at home a marvellous leper's salve that cures upon the instant, but by my neglect it was left at home. Say no more, lest my master beat me.
I'll cuff you, naughty rascal. Surely it will suffice if I recount the 17 properties of fire.
The widow Clink is bedrid for 60 years, and tires of her sedentary life. If you would but stand her on her feet.
Bedrid? 'Tis an easy cure. No, I had forgotten. It requires a cunning knife.
To sever the membrane of the titulant passage.
Left at home.
It would exalt the day if I recited the animals taken on the ark.
A most amazing piece of memory. It is a fragment from Noah's diary.
The bison, the bear, the wolf, the seal, the beaver, the otter, the fox, and raccoon.
Our degree is for skill in surgery.
Perhaps someone with 2 stout legs will permit me to saw off one. I will name you the fibers and arteries as I proceed.
Our faculty is firm. Peace for a moment. The leper's quarry is too distant. Time presses us. See yonder cripple in the gutter. The faculty consents that we may substitute the cripple twist.
My withered arm, my twisted leg.
Succor the blind.
Pity the poor, pity the poor.
Here, learned doctor, is metal for your magic. I must leave you now to go to mass. The degree hangs on your performance.
The syndic enters the church. Bombastus, Jules, and the beggars are left together. Bombastus and Jules have collapsed like balloons when your finger is off the vent. The ugly thread has punctured them. They examine Twist. One lifts an arm. It falls lifeless. The other raises a leg, but it drops like a stick of wood. They shake their heads in gloomy silence. Twist, it is evident, is beyond the mighty doctor's skill. Salve and knife and bitter pill throw up their empty hands. Bombastus sits in despair on the curb beneath the gibbet. Not even his medals comfort him.
Alas, Jules, our fortune has turned sour.
If only our servant Jacques were with us. You recall how he feigned blindness at Salamanca, and how, on his sudden cure, the university voted you a medal.
Was it not at Oxford that we persuaded the faculty that he was deaf, and so won renown by restoring him?
At Copenhagen we needed no proof of wisdom. The Danes have an easy and credent ear.
It was at Madrid that Jacques played the dumb man.
How the crowd shouted when he rose with mended tongue!
If only you, Jules, had Jacques' ability to play a part.
Or that we were at Copenhagen among the trustful Danes.
At Verona they pelted us with stones because my salve for toothache failed.
At Vienna they clapped us in a dungeon.
Let's escape from this evil city before we are exposed.
Yonder gibbet.
I feel its horrid rope upon my neck.
They sit with flat blowout, and can escape, as it were, only on their rims. Twist has been listening. Presently an idea comes to him. He props it for a moment on his fingers. Then he points to the 3 beggars on the steps. He whispers audibly their 3 complaints.
Blind, deaf, dumb.
He rocks in glee. The great doctor and his apprentice, of course, do not observe so vile a creature. Off stage, the ballad-monger is heard singing.
A lady once sat in a castle high, Yo-ho for the sun and the light, and she pined all day for her lover's sighs, and she pined till the fall of night. But that lady who sat in her castle hall, yo-ho for the moon in the sky, eloped by night with her lover tall, eloped when the moon was high.
The song continues through the present scene. Twist's eyes are fixed on the three beggars. The deaf man, as before, is swaying to the rhythm. The dumb man hums softly its refrain. The blind man squints from beneath his patch. This damaging display must not become evident too suddenly. Our audience must discover it one by one. Twist pulls the disconsolate doctor by the arm. The mighty man brushes off the insolent fingers as you or I would snap a caterpillar. Twist points to the three beggars.
Blind, deaf, dumb.
It's useless, my dirty fellow, to beg of us.
Blat, wimp, and squeak, for these 10 years have begged upon these steps, and no one suspects that their ills are pretexted. Their distempers are as false as a hangman's blessing. But if you, great doctor, would but cure them of their false disorders.
False disorders?
It would serve as well as Jacques at Oxford. Our ancient city would give you a medal bigger than all the rest. And also, by your leave, I myself could sit on the church steps and get the coppers that now come to them.
Methinks, master, there's meat in what the little fellow says.
But would they permit a cure that would take the bread out of their mouths?
Mark me. A cut purse says the law shall be hanged upon a gibbet. A beggar who gains a copper by false whimpering is no better than a cut purse. Videlicet, a false beggar shall be hanged.
There is reason in this dirty fellow.
He speaks as hard as a lawyer.
Go whisper to Wimp, the blind man, the name of Yank, the hangman.
A potent argument.
Then hint that the town will celebrate their cure, and that a hogshead of beer will be drunk without a penny cost. Tell them that, great doctor. Beer hath a marvellous tongue for eloquence. Tell them that the wenches will crowd around to dance with them,
and that the prettiest of them will sit upon their knees,
and will throw their arms around them,
and will not be denied a kiss.
Beer.
What ho, Master Blood! Methinks your deaf ear is sharp to catch a tune. Wimp, squeak, you rascal!
The shoulders of the deaf man cease jogging to the tune. The happy lilt dies on the dumb man's lips. The blind man hastily adjusts his patch. The three beggars confusedly.
Charity, sweet folk, I starve for food. Succor the blind, pity the poor, pity the poor,
pity the poor, pity the poor.
Jules, Jules, here are 3 scoundrels to be hanged when mass is done. We'll purge the city. Jules, go fetch Master Yank, the hangman.
The 3 beggars shake and fall upon their knees. They chatter for mercy.
For the love of God!
Spare us, good doctor.
We'll purge? The beggars kneel in a row before the doctor. Their fingers point in pious supplication. Heaven and Bombastis divide their prayers.
Jules, stay a bit. There is a codicil of the ancient law that whoso honors learning shall be pardoned his offense, and learning demands that you all be cured. Do you bend to reason? If you do consent to the cure of your disorders, you shall not be hanged.
What? Cure me of blindness? I would starve.
I would have to work.
I would rather hang than work.
Jules, go call the hangman.
When your cures are wrought, there will be a hogshead of beer,
and the wenches will dance with you,
and the prettiest of them will sit upon your knees,
and will throw their arms around you,
and will not be denied a kiss.
And there will be citron and pippins and flummery cake.
And some more beer.
Without a penny cost.
Death has had but a slight sting for the beggars. They would rather hang than work. But beer shatters their gloomy resolution. They brighten under the attack. They become joyful at the prospect.
Do you permit the cure?
The beggars are in consultation. The word beer seems to hover on their lips like a cheerful ghost in its accustomed haunt. The beggars nod, with general consent.
Then I consent to cure you. You, Master Blind Man, when I have worked on you, will tear the patch and glasses from your eyes and cry out that at last you see. You, Master Dumb Man, will roar aloud the self-same lilt that I heard you sing but a minute since. You, Master Deaf Man, will fling your trumpet over the church. Are you agreed?
The beggars, in a whisper that is both a recollection and a hope.
Beer!
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 And now, Jules, we shall go in to mass. I must give thanks that again I am God's instrument of mercy to his suffering creatures.
He enters the church with magnificent pomp. Conceit has blown him full and round again. Jules follows proudly with the mighty saw.
A hogshead of beer!
Without a penny cost?
And flummery cake!
And pretty wenches!
To hug us?
And to kiss us!
Twist takes no part in this outward joy. His is an inward satisfaction. Presently the church bell rings for the end of mass. The villagers come straggling from the door.
Pity the poor! Pity the poor!
Is it said what the miracle will be?
At first he agreed to cleanse the leper, but the cure was too easy to test his wisdom. Then he was eager to raise the widow Clink, bedrid for 60 years.
God's mercy!
Next he proposed to restore the cripple, Twist, but it touched his genius only on the edge. At the last a threefold miracle was determined.
That I should live to see this day.
The great doctor will restore our 3 old beggars on the steps.
What? Will?
And Blat and Squeak also.
They pass on in general gossip.
This change suits our purpose. It's flat he cannot cure them all.
Would it not be well if I stood close and jogged his elbow when he wields the saw? By the slightest nudge pat to the moment, he would gouge a beggar beyond recovery.
By this, our university would learn that it is better to bestow its honors on us who deserve them more.
The syndic enters with Mistress Trencher on his arm. He kisses her hand at parting. He takes his stand on the church steps above the crowd.
Pity the poor! Pity the poor!
Good folk, cease your chatter. In order that this day may flare like a candle on a hill, our faculty has summoned to our ancient city the learned Dr. Bombastes, who in wisdom is the shrewder twin of Paracelsus. By my request, for I love the meanest of our citizens, a miracle of healing will be performed in your presence in the square. And now I bid you look on the beggar wimp. You have seen him for these 20 years upon these steps. Dr. Bombastes will snatch off the film that seals his eyes. And here is dear old Blat. I love him. I love you all. Blat, the deaf man. His hearing will be restored. And Squeak, the dumb man, infected by a cruel disorder from the cradle. Today, for the first time, he will lift his voice in praise of God. Ah, Mistress Overgirth, what a lovely child! Your sister, perhaps? No? What is the darling's name? May I beg a kiss? I wish I might ask its mother for another.
I'll squat close to see the miracle. It's sure the syndic loves us.
It will be 15 years since Master Wimp was stricken. I remember the very day it had rained.
Long life to our honorable syndic.
Hooray!
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 Peace for a moment. Our distinguished citizen, Master Baggs, who owns the brew house on the hill, will at his own cost, and my suggestion, set out a stoup of wine.
Cheers.
And a flummery cake.
A smaller cheer.
And a hogshead of beer.
Tremendous cheers.
And everyone will drink without a penny cost.
Insanity.
Peace! The learned doctor comes.
There is a general cheer for the doctor, which is louder than the cheer that greeted the flummery cake, but certainly not so loud as the cheer that announced the beer. Bombastus enters with ponderous dignity. Every medal is in place. He is lost in wisdom among his 7,000 stars. His apprentice follows with proud and soaring nose, bearing the great saw, the mighty forceps. Bombastus takes his stand on the church steps. The 3 beggars sit at his feet. His sensitive nose seems infected by the rabble. He signals to Jules to fetch his perfume. He whiffs it at each nostril. And now he makes diagnosis of the beggars. He inspects a tongue. He taps a bicuspid. He gazes profoundly down an ear. He lifts a leg to let it fall. His thoughts plunge to the depth of nature. And now he examines his great saw and squints along its length for any imperfection. He plucks a painful hair from the head of Wimp to test its sharpness. By a magnificent gesture he indicates that the operations will be performed inside the greedy pig. A procession is formed. The beggars are in front, already thirsting for the beer. Then follow the surgeon and the student, plotting behind their palms, praying with uplifted fingers for the doctor's failure. Behind them is the syndic, strutting with Mistress Trencher. The ballad-monger follows, seeking vainly a kind look. At the end is the glorious doctor, followed by his apprentice with the terrible tools. The procession enters the tavern. The crowd gapes through the door and window. Twist climbs the church steps. He sits in the place of best business advantage. He takes possession of the beggars' cups and pours their copper to his own. He requisitions the beggars' wallets. Processions are naught to him. A scarlet elephant would not hold his attention now. He has found dainties inside the wallets. Meantime, at the tavern window, we obtain a glimpse of the doctor with his great saw poised for action. It hovers at the dumb man's gullet. There is a tense moment, but the curtain is pulled across the window. Then comes a shout from the tavern door. There is another shout, louder. Then a third shout, loudest of all. Even the beer has taken a second place. Out run the beggars, healed. The patch is off the blind man's eye. The dumb man shouts. The deaf man hurls his trumpet over the church. The villagers carry the beggars around the square, then set them on the wall at the rear. The doctor comes in triumph from the greedy pig. A new medal has been added to his front, greater than all the rest. It dangles to his proud stomach, and Padua has been outmeasured. Jules follows the doctor, bearing the golden saw, now stained with red. The doctor sits in a niche of the church front. Jules sits below, holding the saw in triumph. A hogshead of beer is carried in. Holy Bridget bless us one and all! Has the golden age returned? A fiddler tunes his fiddle. Village girls carry cups of beer to the beggars. The prettiest of them will not be denied a kiss. The syndic osculates among the babies in his zeal for votes. He favours a comely mother now and then. Twist sits meantime on the church steps. He eats delicacies. His cup runneth over. As for the plotting surgeon and the jealous student, we must fancy them standing in the shadows, biting their bitter fingernails, scheming how they may yet overthrow the doctor. The time of their revenge is still to come. Morning may put reversal on the night. The scene ends with a village dance. And now, while the hogshead is running out in foam, we draw the curtain. End of Act 1. Act 2 of At the Sign of the Greedy Pig, A Frightful Comedy of Beggars, by Charles S. Brooks. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act 2. The scene is the same. It is middle afternoon of the 7th day from the Night of Miracles, and the frenzy has already ebbed. The hogshead of beer is gone, the merry stoup of wine, the shouts of joy, the pipes and timbrels have faded from our ancient city. Cobbler, butcher, and housewife live again in their old routine. The square has sobered to its daytime hues. We shall not see Bombastes again. He and Jules have galloped across the mountains. I would swear a warrant against the rascals, but they are beyond the jurisdiction of my plot. Twist sits alone on the church steps. He is prosperous. His cup is full of copper. His wallet is packed and open. He eats fruits and delicacies. He is even a wee bit fatter, or is this our fancy, than when we first saw him clouted to the gutter. And yet he cannot be entirely happy, for now and again he sighs profoundly. Presently Squeak, mended of his dumbness, trundles in a wheelbarrow. He grunts and sweats under his weary life. He sets his burden down. He mops his face. He rubs his muscles. Leisure and repose have passed like a summer cloud. He trundles the barrow off, his envious gaze on Twist. Adam and Eve, I fancy, when cast from Eden, must have regarded in this fashion any luckier neighbour who escaped the apple. Mistress Trencher enters. She has been shopping. We suspect that silks and laces, boots and ribbons have crowded her hours since noon. Behind her trails Blatt, cured, alas, loaded to his chin with bundles. Surely at sight of his doleful face, have we ourselves not been victim to a woman's shopping? Surely doublet and hose in pit and gallery will weep with sympathy. Blatt sees Twist on the steps. He turns to scowl, and drops a bundle. Another bundle. He is an idle, good-for-nothing fellow, and is led off by the ear, walking tiptoe to ease the strain, with a sullen gaze at Twist across his shoulder. Wimp enters with a paint-bucket and brush. His sight is restored, to his discontent. The work in hand is the signboard of the Greedy Pig. He fetches the ladder from the gibbet, and sets it against the tavern front. He mounts. He starts his task with an angry eye on Twist, who bites a tempting pippin. Wimp adds a peevish flourish to the Greedy Pig's curled tail. Squeak reappears with a broom and sweeps the steps. For something less than a plugged farthing he would break the broom on the head of the solitary banqueter. Blatt enters with a rag and polishes the brasses. He makes jabs at the metal, and we must suppose that he is at work on Twist's nose.
Those were happy days, Master Blatt.
Look at Twist, eating on our steps.
Once we could have clouded him.
Last week he had nothing better than a shriveled apple john.
The pippins were ours.
And here we are working, with hardly a bite to eat all day.
Just peelings.
Things what is scraped off the table.
Slop that is left in the cups.
All morning I scrubbed the kitchen, with cook stepping on me.
I carted garbage to the pigs.
Garbage is easier than shopping.
What day is it, Master Squeak?
Friday.
A whole week since the big doctor cured us, and nothing but work.
Those old days were happy, Master Blatt.
Just listening to the coppers dropping in our cups.
Everybody inquiring about our complaints.
And we whining as merry as birds.
Twist has become as dejected as his companions.
Master Blatt, Wimp, Squeak, couldn't you lay off a bit? I'm as lonely as an owl. Dear friends, sit with me, for lonesomeness is more grievous than a jumping tooth. I can sit thin. There's room for all of us.
It is an invitation whistled, as it were, to the grated window of a jail. Old Stripes inside is sorry, but he cannot accept.
Friday. Just a week ago.
Did you ever taste such beer?
It is a heavy memory, sorrow's crown of sorrow.
And all the wenches bringing up hunks of flummery cake. One wench popped a kiss at me.
Dozens kissed me.
I was too busy with the beer.
Did you hear the speech of Master Baggs? Or were you too far gone in liquor?
I marked the start. The hinder end is smudged.
He said that we would be useful citizens.
And wouldn't have to beg.
And that we would work.
I hate work.
I wish they'd hanged us.
Angels are peacefuller than scrubbing.
Just sweating and sweating.
Work so restless.
So discontented.
The apple woman enters. We have been hearing her cry,
"Tippins and sheep's noses!"
in a nearby street. Twist selects an apple. He selects 4 apples. He ranges them in a row upon the steps, polishing each with spit. He hunches along hospitably. It is a tempting offer. The beggars hesitate. Twist holds up a hunk of pudding. 4 hunks. He rubs his happy stomach for the advertisement. He ranges the 4 hunks alongside the apples. Each hunk has a pink and blooming partner. The beggars are about to yield, with cautious glances at the tavern window. Stealthily, broom, paintbrush, and polishing rag are laid aside. Suddenly an upper window of the Greedy Pig is thrown open. Mistress Trencher's head appears.
"What blat? How you dawdle! Wimp, I'll cuff you if you loiter. Squeak, for shame!"
Mistress Trencher's head is withdrawn. Her flaming sword has turned the beggars from the gate of Eden. With a sigh Twist replaces the puddings and the apples in his wallet. He hobbles from the square.
I dreamed last night that 4 gibbets were set up, and that me and Twist and you and Wimp did hang upon them.
Will we cotton thievery? I regret the purse I snatched on Monday last.
Did they get wind that I pilfered spreads off Mother Grimm's pantry shelf?
I stole quinces set to dry in the Widow Clink's garden wall.
We were hanged for witchcraft.
Witchcraft, Master Wimp?
Witchcraft.
And I'll tell you what chanced this morning. At the city fountain, where I went to wash, it was whispered that Dr. Bombastes had been proved a witch. One of our surgeons has proclaimed it around the city.
I myself, methinks, saw the devil's mark upon his throat.
He shuddered at the holy bell of Mars.
A black cat meowed and trotted at his heels.
It was by witchcraft, so it said, that the doctor cured us.
Then let them hang him for a witch. I care not.
We owe him a grievous grudge.
It is too late. The doctor left our ancient city 7 days ago. Our hue and cry could not overtake him.
It would have been a rare fun to see him hanged.
Beer.
And what say you if, instead of hanging the doctor, they hanged us? Us!
Jesus!
Sainted Bridget.
It's in the law, in the great book, that whomsoever is practised on by a witch is himself a witch, and must hang.
Squeak has been holding his broomstick astride, like a witch's broomstick. He sees the horrid resemblance, and drops it in fright. The beggars are quite consumed by fear. Just at this distressing moment, the upstairs window is again thrown open. The noise is innocent enough, yet it startles the beggars. Mistress Trencher's head is thrust out.
"Master Blatt, run this minute to the fishmonger, and get me a farden's worth of tripe, and ask him how our sprats. Bid him put the tripe on my reckoning. You, Master Squeak, trot to Mother Grimm's in Crooked Lane. My compliments, and will she tell me the manner in which she mixes her flummery? Wimp, come here, you idle fellow. The pantry must be scrubbed. Hurry. Be off, you lazy boys."
A farden's worth of tripe. Witchcraft.
Flummery! Witchcraft!
Pantry! Witchcraft!
The three beggars depart on their errands. As Mistress Trencher lingers to smell the flowers growing at her window, the ballad monger enters.
Juliet! At her casement!
Perchance you mistake the place. The signboard, sir. The greedy pig. It is the house of Mistress Trencher.
All night, dear Juliet, verses run through my head, but your beauty stales a golden phrase. Your voice is the song of birds on the painted hills of morning.
Still harping on your Juliet? You are near of sight, Master Ballad monger. Go seek the barber for a pair of glasses.
I see into your heart too closely, Mistress Trencher. It is as grey and cold as flint.
Yet fire, they say, is struck from flint, if one knows how.
Teach me, dearest lady. I would rouse a conflagration to warm your chilly soul.
You might prove a dunce beyond instruction.
Am I a dunce to love you?
Most agreeably a dunce. Were it not for you, and my other lovers, the day would drag at weary pace.
We spar with idle weapons. I love you, Mistress Trencher. Your voice is a holy bell at twilight. Your smile a candle in the lonely shadows of my heart. By day, by night, and every hour, my thoughts run on pilgrimage to you. I knock for shelter at the portal of your thoughts. Dearest lady, I would that your arms were my tavern for the night.
It is well conned.
If I were a sailor on the sea, your lips would be my compass, your kiss my harbor light. I'd sing in joy for any tempest toward the land, though it crack the timbers of my ship, for it would blow me swiftly to your arms.
It is pretty and above the average. Would that the syndic would woo me in this fashion.
God, lady, would you wed a bag of gold, a glittering house upon a hill, a quart of sparkling wine? Once my fingers were laid upon your arm for a moment only, yet the memory warms me, no matter how the wind shall blow.
Would you teach the syndic? For a silver tongue he fees in gold.
Once, just once, in your eyes I thought I saw your love. Tear all things from my mind, this moment of happiness remains. It is a torch to light my wintry days.
Here, Master Ballad monger, catch this flower. I kiss the petals. It's in gratitude for a pretty speech.
She withdraws her head. Does her kiss, think you, upon a flower, outweigh the kiss she blew the syndic off her fingers? Our plot may hold surprises. We must wait a bit before we whistle for a priest. The syndic has entered, and has seen the throwing of the flower. He scowls with jealousy. The ballad monger kisses the jasmine, puts it next his heart, and leaves the square.
So, I catch you, Master Ballad monger. I must find a way to take you by the leg and throw you.
He retires in villainous meditation. The ballad monger sings far off.
A ship with gold in its heavy hold is taxed at the import rate, and a camel's back on a sandy track is priced at the customs gate. But the cargo light of a flower in flight is a kiss of duty free, and the port to steer is my heart, my dear, its harbor beyond the sea.
And now Wimp has scrubbed the pantry. He comes from the inn with aching muscles. Beyond a doubt the fat cook, in her hurry with cookies in the oven, has stepped on him many times. Twist enters from the opposite direction.
Do you owe me a grudge, Master Wimp?
Aye, a grievous grudge.
I am not happy myself, Master Wimp. Every night I go to Mother Grimm's to get my supper with a great round penny, all alone. All four of us sat there together in our happy days, but you and Blat and Squeak have not come for many days. Each night I put aside a pork chop on the chance that you are late.
A pork chop!
And then I sing, and tell myself that I am rich and happy. But It is no use. It would be paradise to be a carter and lift great barrels on my back. I would like to run and leap and swing my arms. Quite everybody is strong and healthy, but a cripple lives and thinks alone, and all day I sit upon these steps. There is no music in the pennies now. I'm such a friendly fellow. I'm sorry that you and Blat and Squeak owe me a grudge.
Me and Blat and Squeak have got to hang. We are witches.
Witches? Got to hang? I remember that on the day when the great doctor worked your cure, one of our surgeons, moved, as I thought, by an itching jealousy, said he would spread an evil gossip around the city.
We've got to hang. Me and Blat and Squeak and you.
Me?
Aye.
Me too?
Shh! Here comes the surgeon who spread the gossip.
Let's hide and listen.
They conceal themselves, and the surgeon and the student enter.
I have infected the ear of the city. You yourself will vouch that the great saw did not even touch Squeak's gullet.
I saw his apprentice pour red juices on the metal to look like blood.
You know the temper of our people. They will be in frightful anger.
It's ill luck that Bombastes has left the city. They would hang the rogue to a gibbet. 'Tis a pity that our warrant does not stretch beyond the mountains.
I regret that the doctor no longer tarries with us, but it will serve our purpose if we besmirch his name.
Once more the widow Clink will take your bitter pills. Mr. Spaggs will fee again in gold.
Dross, mere dross.
The faculty?
We'll see what foolery it was.
To set Bombastes' name above your own. His decree will be rescinded.
And conferred on me. It will be my desert for freeing our city of witches. The syndic whispers to me, master student, that when he is mayor, you shall sit in the council as his adviser.
It fits with my ambition. I shall work for his election. But is it not an ill thing to rouse a cry of witchcraft, unless you offer the crowd a victim?
It would be lacking all conscience toward the poor. I have found them a victim. 4 victims. If a dog begs, he should have his bone. I've 4 bones to throw to him.
4?
The syndic stands for office. A hanging, which our people love, ensures his election. A hanging, therefore, I broached to him. He fell at once to the suggestion.
Who is to hang?
The syndic and I, at my suggestion, read this morning in the great book of the law. It is a most amazing book, so packed with wisdom that what it affirms presently it denies. It matters only where you put your finger. If you like not its judgment here, you have but to turn the page to find reversal. So, after much rummage of contradiction, mark what we found. Those who are victims of witchcraft are themselves witches, and shall be hanged, to which the law urges diligence. And therefore Wimp and Blat and Squeak must hang.
Those are 3 bones only. Where do you find the 4th for our hungry dog?
The cripple, Twist. He was observed in talk with Bombastes.
So was the syndic.
But the syndic gives a penny to the church each day. Twist, moreover, was seen gathering herbs.
It is most suspicious.
Shrunken cripples are often the devil's brood.
Does the book make this clear?
Hardly clear. It is a book of law. But I have found a dusty precedent. There is witchery curable if the symptoms pass off within 7 days. But if on that 7th day, the 7th stroke of the holy bell for evening mass, even as it wears to a lingering echo, finds the accused still with the marks of witchcraft on him, then has the corruption entered to the marrow of his bones, and he shall hang.
How marvellous is the law! How cunningly it twists itself!
Today is the 7th day.
And it lacks but a half-hour of evening mass.
It will be well to have Master Yank, the hangman, ready.
Shall I fetch Yank? Shall I bid him bring his rope?
Hasten, master student. And I shall fetch the syndic and whisper in his ear, so that the trial shall be lawful, and a verdict of guilty given without regard to stubborn evidence."
They go off on their opposite errands. In the meantime the shadows of the twilight have been falling on the square. Twist and Wimp come from their concealment in the church porch.
Go get Master Blat. Go get Master Squeak. We must escape from this ancient city.
Alas, the gates are closed for the night.
May we not hide till dawn in Mother Grimm's great oven?
Or climb the rotten ladder to the belfry.
By stealth we might crawl into the soup vat in the convent kitchen, and pull the copper lid down upon us.
With a knotted blanket, we might climb off the dizzy battlements.
Perhaps there's a peddler's cart that has a bin behind. Such fellows go forth at dawn.
Blat and Squeak return from their errands.
Alas, they hang all four of us at the stroke of 7.
Me?
Peace. I'm thinking. Master Wimp, Blat, Squeak, listen close. Go, Master Wimp, run to Mother Grimm's and bid her take her needle and sew you a patch. You, Master Blat, find your trumpet where you threw it across the church. And you, Squeak, perhaps someone listens. Gather close. You, Master Squeak.
But his voice has fallen to a mumble. Not even the closest fiddle beneath the stage can catch a word. The trombone is as ignorant as ourselves. The beggars are gathered about Twist, who whispers to each his instructions. Finally, at his bidding, they run off the square in several directions. And now we observe that night has been coming on. The window of the greedy pig has been lighted, and it throws its bright reflection across the left half of the square. The gibbet stands in sinister outline and throws a fearful shadow on the gloomy house fronts. Our patient angler, with dangling noose, feels already a nibbling at his bait. Over the gibbet the evil comet burns. The bell ringer crosses the square on the way to church.
Master Bell ringer, is it you who opens the great doors of the church for evening mass?
Aye, for these 60 years. I was but a lad when the earthquake rocked the tower.
Are both doors to be opened wide tonight?
Aye, Master Twist, just as soon as I've pulled the bell for its 7th stroke. I was sitting in the belfry when the rumble came.
And do the lanterns burn as usual in the entry?
Aye, Master Twist.
For the love of God, good Master Bellringer, see that their wicks are trimmed and their glasses polished.
Does the bishop come to mass?
It will be a festival as gay. As you love me, old friend, see that the lights burn brightly in the entry.
I'll set extra candles at the door.
The bell ringer disappears inside the church, shutting the doors behind him. And now the syndic enters with the surgeon, the student, and Yank, the hangman. Yank carries a rope, which he adjusts upon the gibbet. Time has turned his ghastly office to a jest. He is the merriest of all the sons of Yank since Nex first paid the price of ugly hearts.
It's promised, Master Student. If elected, I name you counselor.
A word in your ear, learned syndig.
Yank sings.
A sailorman's splice is tied in a trice, and it weathers the tempest blast. But a hangman's noose shall never come loose, and it holds till life is past. Oh, a knot in a string is a weakly thing on the neck of dogs that bite, but a hangman's rope shall strangle hope, and it grips till hell's in sight.
You have persuaded me. These 4 witches must hang. As for the balladmonger, I do regret that we may not hang him also. A singer of filthy songs. I'd have all such fellows.
Does not the balladmonger woo sweet Mistress Trencher? The stupid might think you jealous, Master Syndic.
A patched and shiny knave. It is monstrous that he should be permitted even to speak to Mistress Trencher. It is my intention, I confess it between friends, to wed the lady. It will require but a hasty wooing, for the pretty creature is prepared. I have given her now and then a word for her encouragement, and she will jump upon my offer. As for this rogue, this ballad-monger, it will be better, as you say, to delay his hanging until the eve of the election. It will clinch in the 11th hour any doubtful votes. Where are these 4 witches that we hang?
They live hereabouts. Presently Yank will fetch them.
Twist is sitting on the church steps now.
Then we shall begin with Twist.
What think you, Master Syndic? Is it necessary that there be a trial in form? We know without examining the facts that they are guilty.
If they happen to be present, it is necessary. For the law says that no man shall be hanged without a trial. But the law says also, mark its cunning in reversal, that no man shall be tried in absence. These beggars are not here. Videlicet, they are absent. Therefore there can be no lawful trial, which is consequently forfeit. This makes their guilt very plain, and they must hang.
It sounds most conclusive.
Perhaps it would be well, Master Syndig, if you said a few words when the noose is on their necks. It points an effective moral, and the people will wish a speech.
Although I am slow to notoriety, modesty is my grievous fault. Your argument persuades me. Reluctantly, I consent.
Surgeon, as he sees Squeak's broomstick.
Ah, what have we here? A most damning piece of evidence.
If proof were needed, which luckily our law has the good sense not to insist upon, it would now be complete.
But can all 4 witches hang upon a single broomstick?
Can 4 men gallop on a single horse? The pillion straps would break. It's done by villainous magic only.
Has the law a case in point?
Aye, it says that 4 bodies cannot occupy the space of 1. This makes their guilt very clear.
Surgeon, as he points to the comet.
Look you, Master Syndig, there is a wicked comet in the sky.
Alas, they must have bewitched the very heavens. They must hang tonight at the stroke of 7, lest they practise on the moon. Of all the planets, it is the weakest vessel.
It would be a horrid thing if they sent it spinning to the east. It needs but a hint to lead a vagrant life.
They would knock the stars about our tumbling chimneys, and our streets would not be safe at night.
They would hurl the sun splashing in the sea.
And the boiling water would drown the fish.
It is in Holy Writ that we must not suffer a witch to live.
The great Bible with its golden tassels is a book inspired.
Its letters large and small, its very commas are of sacred origin.
We are agreed. These rascals must be hanged. Ah, I had forgot. Our faculty has decreed a medal to you, Master Surgeon, in token of its gratitude.
Me? How unexpected! My zeal has been only for the common good.
It is now black night. The stars, neglectful of their horrid danger, venture in the sky. Are Mars and the Lion composed of fearless metal? Or has the surgeon's threatening gossip lagged tardily aloft? Even the Pleiades hang out their timid lanterns. That part of the square which is nearest to the tavern is lighted from the window of the tap. The church steps are in deep shadow. A crowd of villagers has been gathering. Yank is busy with his ropes. He sings at his congenial task.
All lovers plot for a parson's knot, and maids and widows old. But a hangman's noose shall play the deuce till it squeezes a rascal cold. And lover and maid and parson staid, and sailor and widow agree, that a gibbet's jerk in the twilight murk is fun for only me.
Good even, Master Yank. Is there thievery in town? I must hide my silver spoon.
Who is to be the crow's meat dancer?
There are 4 witches to be hanged. Yonder broomstick was dropped in their flight across the moon.
Jesus!
God a mercy! Methinks last night I saw a witch riding in frightened clouds.
It's the moon they have bewitched. They have turned it towards the east. The sun, it's likely, is pelting off through space this very moment to escape their evil eye.
God save us! As I came along tonight, a chimney was toppled by a falling star.
The sun, they say, went splashing in the sea, and whales were boiled.
Yank, as he holds up a length of rope.
Your hemp, Hibiscus cannabinus, in the Vulgate, is an honest vegetable. If it blossom to maturity, it is the strong right arm of justice. Spun some 100 strands together, it holds as fat a villain as ever dined on buttered dumplings. Ali Baba's 40 thieves could be dispatched on such a rope as this between Mass and Compline Bell. It lays its ghastly grip on cheats and penny clippers, on men who snatch purses for a living, on bakers who sell with false scales. This very noose,
he meditates,
has squeezed a score of thieves, a dozen murderers, a highwayman, a butcher, a pirate, and a witch. It is coach and horses into hell.
Who hangs tonight?
Twist is the first to hang.
Fetch Twist this way, Master Yank, but beware lest he touch the broomstick.
It was but this morning I gave Twist a penny.
Then it has gone to the devil's use. It's as hot already as a chimney brick after a Friday's baking.
Twist is led to the gibbet. He mounts the ladder. The noose is put about his neck. His withered arm, his twisted leg, sue in vain for mercy. Yank has other verses of his song, and he sings at his work, happy and contented. Our washlady at her scrubbing board, a joyous creature with jouncing blouse, does not express herself more blissfully in song. You, dear sir, if your practice runs with mine, do not rollick with cheerier tunes, singing at the week-end in your foaming bath. The secret of Epicurus is the enjoyment of one's livelihood. Listen to Yank.
By poison or knife you can end your life and join the varlets below. But a hangman's way to the grave's decay is a bitter road to go. A jester's song is never too long in tavern or castle remote, but a hangman's catch shall hardly match when it plays on a scoundrel's throat.
And now the syndic stands forth to make his speech.
Master Twist, you stand in peril of the law. You have privilege of trial, and may speak in your own defence.
Please you, sir.
Silence, miscreant! 'Tis a precept not for vulgar practice. You and Blat and Whymp and Squeak must hang. Has anyone evidence to the contrary? Then it is proved most detestably. But if all signs of witchcraft have vanished from you and Blat and Whymp and Squeak when the last stroke of 7 has faded to a lingering echo, then says the law upon reversal, mark the wisdom of the law, you are innocent, and all 4 of you shall stand acquitted and have your ancient license to beg for charity.
Mercy, Master Syndic, I'm such a lonely little fellow. I ask nothing but to sit with my 3 friends and beg upon the church steps.
Silence!
It would be heaven, Master Syndic, to sit upon the steps with them. Paradise, methinks, is but a place where old friends talk together.
Master Yank, are you ready? The bell prepares to ring. Are you a scholar, Master Yank? Can you count to 7? When the last stroke has faded to a lingering echo, let justice take its course and kick away the ladder.
And now the first stroke of the hour sounds. The crowd is hushed. The second stroke sounds. Lips count in silence. Faustus, waiting at the tick of midnight for the devil's seizure, did not listen with sharper ear. The third, the fourth. The crowd is tense. Will not a star now in mercy grasp the moment to strike a toppling chimney? Will not the thick earth swallow up the headsman? The fifth, the sixth, the seventh. The sound fades to a lingering echo. And now the bell ringer, having announced the mass, throws wide the church doors. A strong light from the entry, from burnished lamps and candles, falls across the square. For once the glory of the church throws the greedy pig in shadow. Sainted Bridget, we are saved! On the steps, in their ancient place, the three beggars sit with cup, patch, wallet, stick, and crutch. There is silence. The smallest pin would rattle on the stones.
I starve, good people.
Pity the poor, pity the poor.
Succor the blind.
Pity the poor, pity the poor.
Our pen beggars the excitement. It is the syndic who silences the uproar.
Behold, the holy bell of our ancient church has cleansed the witches. For 'tis said that when a church bell rings the air is sweet, and foul creatures are healed of loathsome malady. We are blessed with a second miracle, and Padua is green-eyed. I declare these 4 beggars to be purged and innocent. They have their ancient license to beg upon the church steps.
Are we to be cheated of a hanging?
I have hobbled a weary mile.
So I pause for thought.
'Tis a bitter disappointment.
In vain are my geese neglected. My bread unwatched has sunk to dough.
I'll bid my husband vote against the syndic.
Good folk, there shall be a hanging, because of the love I bear you. I love the meanest of our citizens. My thoughts ransack the law.
The syndic will find a victim for the gibbet.
And he does. He has my vote.
If a merchant's scales sag a half ounce in the pound, he hangs. And he hangs also who lies to make a sale. In this assembly there is such a perjured merchant, the ballad-monger. On this very square, a week ago, he sold tunes by a false persuasion, jigs to stir a dead and gouty foot, lullabies more potent than the strongest morphia, love songs to win the coldest wench. By this tune, he cried, was Helen whistled off to Troy. A lie! In this palm did King Henry drop his coin to woo the fair Rosamond in her bower. Though a lover be as humped as Richard, I repeat his very words, this melody will pluck him down a wife. Let this black-livered ballad-monger stand forth and prove his verses. If they fail to draw a sweetheart to his arms, he shall hang when mass is done.
The ballad-monger stands forth.
Shall a man hang for a jest? Must humour perish from the earth?
Silence.
Let the gaudy fellow choose a lass and test the magic of his song.
2 women must confess their love. Some silly woman hereabouts may already love him and wait but the occasion. He may have stuffed her for a month with sweetmeats toward her consent. Candy oft-times is most villainously persuasive. Such creatures let a sucking tooth give answer.
Shrewdly urged. 2 women, when the song is done, must seek their lovers' arms.
What? 2? 1 were a sufficient miracle.
2? Nonsense! Even an August moon, though it be as slender as a sharpened scythe, cuts a maiden's cold resolve. If the song be what he says, it will rouse a general panic among the wenches. We'll make the number 4.
And let the test include a withered grandame whose desire has faded with the years.
Apollo himself would hang on these hard terms.
He looks lovingly at Mistress Trencher, but finds no response. He sings listlessly, impersonally, with discouragement. Cupid would shrink to attack the necessary regiment.
My ear, dear lass, is a shell on the shore that echoes the joyous sea, and the lark's high note in the sky afloat is a ravishing melody. But your voice, my dear, I love you so, surpasses the sea and the lark, and my soul's aflame when you speak my name, fired by a hungry spark.
Once more he seeks Mistress Trencher's unresponsive eye. Then to her he sings passionately.
My hand, my dear, is chilled to the touch of silver and diamonds fine. My hand is cold to glistening gold and treasures of the mine. But my fingers burn, and my heart's afire, when they touch your wrist or your cheek, and your lips, it's clear, are the source, my dear, the source of the kiss I seek.
He breaks into a passionate appeal.
As gods above, sweetheart, I love you. My verses are poor and barren. I love you, Mistress Trencher, beyond all tune and words.
But Mistress Trencher, upon my word I would like to shake the heartless jilt. Mistress Trencher still stands unpersuaded, and the ballad-monger sings again. During this third stanza, two youths of the city take the occasion to woo their ladies in similar fashion, seeming almost to sing the words with the ballad-monger. It is salvage from the wreck, a by-product of the singer's flaming furnace. As the song proceeds, excitement rises among these secondary lovers. The crackling pot begins to bubble.
My eye is sharp to beauty's plea of clouds in the twilight dim. But your face, dear lass, is a mirrored glass where gentleness peeps in, and love and truth and dazzling youth and all the graces nine are captive at your mirror, dear. The ransom, love, is thine.
At the conclusion of the song, all of the lovers pause. Mistress Trencher drops her eyes.
I am ready, Mr. Syndic. I am a cheating tradesman. My tune is not worth its copper. Bid Yank bring out his rope.
And now, when all seems lost, Mistress Trencher cries out.
I call on you all to witness. I love the ballad-monger.
Simultaneously, almost before the ballad-monger can take Mistress Trencher in his arms, certainly before the amazing truth flashes on the Syndic, the ladies of subsidiary petition have taken the same resolve. There are 3 armfuls for the eye, 3 happy lovers. Nor is this all. The waitress of the inn, on an indifferent wooing we suspect, has slinked the broom-boy. Even an old lady, such is the hot contagion, offers to share a kiss with anyone who supports a beard. Not since Cupid first strung his reckless bow have so many hearts fallen to a single siege. The juice of western flower that beguiled Titania to the ass's arms had not our present magic. Kisses sound like popcorn.
It is proved. There's virtue in the song. Half the maidens of our ancient city have fallen victims to its tune. With another verse we'd not have a bachelor left. Neither gout nor crutch is safe. Palsy, with its net of wrinkles, would totter to the altar. There's naught to do, Master Syndic, but to lay aside your jealousy, admit the ballad-monger is the better man, and proclaim his just acquittal.
A cheer for the Syndic, our future mayor! Hooray!
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 Ah, your applause is sweet. For your love I decline to wed with Mistress Trencher, even if she go upon her knees. I'll stay a bachelor. Learned surgeon, your advice is good. The ballad-monger stands acquitted. I wish him health and happiness.
There is a great shout of approval. At last the tun of beer has found a rival. The evil comet flies off across the heavens. Twist has been released from the gibbet. He has taken his place on the church steps with the three beggars, who move along to welcome him. Paradise is but a place where old friends talk together. They whine merrily. Coppers are dropped into their flowing cups.
Look at my withered arm, good
I
folk.
starve,
My
good
twisted
people.
leg.
Pity the poor.
Succor the
Pity the
blind.
poor.
Meantime, Mass, so to speak, has been getting cold. The village folk dawdle with gossip off to church. Mistress Beggs begs the surgeon for a bitter pill. He wears an enormous medal on his front, and Bombastis' fame is dwarfed. Again will Mistress Clink, bedrid for 60 years, drink his steaming posset. The student's nose once more is buried in his book. The syndic, to clinch the vote, pets babies. He consoles himself upon a pretty mother. And now, as the city folk mount the church steps, the ballad monger goes off singing, with Mistress Trencher in the protection of his arm.
My hand and heart and body strength, my eye and tongue attest, that my love is sure while hills endure, till the windy sea's at rest. While the earth persists and the stars are hung in splendor to the sight, my love is thine, sweet mistress mine, my love is thine to-night.
The stage clears. In the light from the church doors, the four beggars draw food from their wallets. They exchange delicacies, a bit of cheese against an apple, a piece of citron for a hunk of pudding. The voice of the ballad monger fades in the distance. We shall draw the curtain while the beggars' friendly banquet is in progress. And now again, as in the days when poets drummed their golden verses, there flits across my eyes the vision of a sharp-pitched city with questing towers and battlements. Its cobbled pavements rest from the noisy traffic of the day, and if any echo starts, it is the watchman on his round. For even the padded foot of evil sleeps. May we not suppose, for so does fancy trick our reason, that these buildings on the hill, having had their penny's worth, now scramble from the gallery? For our frightful comedy is acted to a happy ending. End of Act 2. End of At the Sign of the Greedy Pig, a frightful comedy of beggars, by Charles S. Brooks.